So I made one for my toddler from a free printable template. Links in the description. You can make it from whatever material you choose. I chose cardboard because it's free. Here's the material list. It's also in the description along with links to buy the stuff. So I got my template from a Facebook group called Perfectly Imperfect Makers Community. I've since updated the template and reposted it to the community with some fixes and some instructions. Along with the instructions are how to size it down for a template for kids or shorter folks. Since I made mine for my toddler, I did some math to proportionally size it down. Long story short, I had to use algebra. Cross multiplication. Essentially it comes down to x equals height in inches divided by 72, where x is your print zoom percentage. So if you want it for someone who's 40 inches tall, do 40 inches divided by 72 inches, and that's about 56% of the full size. So that's what you're going to put into your print percentage when you print. So print your template and cut it out using an X-Acto blade or something similar. Use a metal straight edge to help ensure straight lines when needed. Use Scotch tape to tape together any of the bits of the template that were printed into multiple pieces or across multiple pages. Now use the template to cut your armor. If you're cutting your cardboard, ensure that the smoothest side is faced outward. You'll notice that if you look on the inside of your box or whatever you're pulling apart to make this, that it's a little more ripply looking on the inside. It'll really show in your armor, and you can notice that on my chest pieces if you see the ripples there. Then I bent the cardboard into expected shapes and used extreme hold duct tape to connect the cardboard armor pieces. Regular duct tape may well be fine, but this is what I had on hand and I didn't want anything to fall apart. For the wrist gauntlets or vambraces, if you prefer, use any materials that you have on hand to build them up as needed. You could use cardboard or EVA foam, but since I had it handy, I used Styrofoam to build up those top portions of the wrists, and I used an electric Styrofoam cutting tool to make clean cuts in that Styrofoam. That tool is essentially a hot wire that cuts through foam easily. For the right gauntlet, I used a dowel rod and some hollow plastic rods to build out the firing apparatus. I also instead located them at the front of the top portion to make them a greater focal point, since it's typically just kind of a computer, which is just flat and kind of boring on the top. In the end, the dowel, I used a Dremel to drill out the middle of the tip to give it some depth and make it look like it was the tip of a barrel. I then used Mod Podge, which is essentially an EVA glue, similar to Elmer's glue, to attach the pieces together and to the wrist cardboard. For the mud horn, which is that animal on the right shoulder armor, I used air drying foam clay. It was easy to use and I didn't need any additional finishing after it was dried. After all the pieces are built, cover the outside with Mod Podge, the PVA glue I mentioned earlier. This helps augment the strength, shape, and connectivity of the cardboard. If you're building this for one use, this step might be optional, but I wanted my armor to hold up over time for multiple uses. After letting it dry, give it a cursory sanding to smooth down any rough spots. Next, use a paint primer if you have it. I used a spray paint primer. This will stop your silver paint from soaking in as much to the cardboard. After the primer dries, apply a silver paint. I used spray paint. For the best look, apply it in thin coats. I used roughly 3 or 4 coats and ensure full drying time in between them. If you go on thick, it yields bubbles and a drippy look, possible cracking, and generally looks inconsistent in its finish. After the paint dries, put on a clear finish. I used a clear semi-gloss or a gloss spray. While it's tempting to skip this step, I found that the silver spray paint rubbed off easily in a dry, powdery form, so this clear coat was imperative. When it comes to drying the Mod Podge or spray paint, a heat gun can expedite this process. If you're not familiar with these heat guns, they look basically like heavy-duty hair dryers, except they get a lot hotter and are too hot for use on people, but just right for other applications. If you use one or even a hair dryer, keep it moving so you don't boil the drying liquids, otherwise you'll have visible bubbling in your finish. For the helmet, I found the template designed to be too small and requiring a lot of work to get the cardboard looking viable and smooth. While I could have rebuilt it in a larger size, put a lot more work into it, it didn't seem like it was worth it, so I tossed the cardboard helmet and bought my daughter the Mandalorian electronic half mask for kids for 25 bucks. This mask can work for adults too, although ideally for teens and adults, I'd recommend the Black Series Mandalorian helmet if it's within your budget. If you want a voice amplifier or voice changer to give you or your kid that additional Mando touch, check out my other videos on those topics. Now for the undersuit, hit up your wardrobe, a thrift store, or wherever for a brown long sleeve shirt and pants. For my toddler, I got a matching set from Walmart. It actually took some hunting around. Anyway, so then grab sticky back Velcro and put it on your armor pieces. Then mount the Velcro on your shirt and pants. For the second part, it's best if the costumee is wearing the pants and shirt so you can put on the armor in the proper locations and determine the best mounting spots for the Velcro to attach to the clothes. While you might be able to get away with just using the Velcro adhesive, I'd recommend sewing them on. I used a sewing machine and it really sped up the process. For the gauntlets, on the undersides of them, I made sure that I could overlap the Velcro and it allows for a nice form-fitting design. For the cape, you can use an old dark sheet if you have one, or you can get a thick dark cape from Amazon. I've got 3 listed in the description of varying prices, including one in a kid's size. But they all come with hoods. What you could do is you could either tuck it into the upper back, or you could cut across the back of the hood and put your head through that so it wraps around your neck, similar to the way it does with Mando, covering up the top of the front opening. Then you could optionally tatter the bottom by cutting it up a little bit and putting some holes in it. If you want a blaster, you can pick up a painted blaster on Amazon for as cheap as you can the Ruby's unpainted blaster that's in blaze orange. And also, if you want to carry around Grogu, you can snag them on Amazon for less than 20 bucks. That pretty much wraps it up. If this helped you out, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, take care, I'm out.